Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
Welcome back to the deep dive. This time we're diving deep into, well, a line from Helena Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine that really caught my eye. Light is cold flame, and flame is fire, and fire produces heat, which yields water, the water of life in the Great Mother. Powerful imagery, right? I'm really looking forward to breaking this down with our expert.
You know, it's fascinating. Blavatsky uses fire and water here, but not just as like literal elements. It's like she's giving us a glimpse into something way bigger, like the core of creation itself.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So where do we even begin with something like this? Maybe just break it down phrase by phrase.
That's a great place to start, yeah. Each piece of the quote kind of builds on the last one, you know? It takes us deeper and deeper into Blavatsky's whole cosmic view.
All right, so let's jump in. First part, light is cold flame. Now, how can a flame be cold? Doesn't that seem kind of contradictory?
Exactly, and that's where the symbolic interpretation comes in. Blavatsky's not talking about, like, physical fire, right? It's more like she's pointing to a subtler kind of light, like a spiritual radiance. It doesn't burn or destroy, but illuminates, inspires.
So cold flame represents a kind of primal spiritual light. Is that what she's getting at?
That's a great way to put it, yeah. It's like the very seed of creation, the source of everything, before anything physical even exists.
Gotcha. Starting to see where this is going. And it says, and flame is fire. Seems pretty obvious on the surface, but I feel like there's got to be more to it.
Yeah, you're right to question that. Remember, Blavatsky chose her words very carefully. When she says flame is fire, she's really hammering home the link between that initial spiritual light, the cold flame, and then the more active, dynamic force that we think of as fire.
So it's like she's saying this spiritual light, even though it's subtle and cold, it's also the source of all the fiery energy that, actually drives the act of creation.
Exactly. It's both the blueprint and the energy all in one, setting everything in motion.
Whoa, mind blown already. Okay, on to the next part. Fire produces heat, which yields water. Now, how can fire create water? Is this kind of like an alchemical secret or something?
It's not a literal chemical thing. We're in the realm of symbols here still. Think of heat as the vibratory force, the energy coming from the creative fire.
Okay, so what is this heat acting on?
Well, remember how in a lot of esoteric traditions, water symbolizes primordial chaos, that formless potential that everything emerges from?
Right, like that cosmic soup, before the Big Bang.
Exactly. So that heat from fire, that creative energy, it acts on that primordial water, gets it moving, causes it to differentiate and take shape.
Oh, I see. So it's not that fire is literally turning into water, but its energy is what's shaping this primordial substance, bringing about creation, like a sculptor using tools on clay. The tools themselves aren't the sculpture, but they're how the artist transforms the material.
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, it really captures that relationship between those cosmic principles. And this brings us to the last part, the water of life in the Great Mother.
Yes, the Great Mother. I'm really fascinated by that concept. But before we dive into that, can we do a quick recap of what we've covered so far, just to make sure I'm following?
Absolutely. So we started with light is cold flame, representing that primal spiritual light that exists before anything else. That cold flame is also the source of fire, the active force that kicks everything else. Fire then produces the heat or energy that acts on the primordial water, that unmanifested potential. And that brings us to the water of life.
Okay, that helps a lot. So water of life is the result of this whole process, the primal light, fire, heat, all working on that primordial water. But what exactly is water of life, and how does the Great Mother fit into all of this? Okay, so we've got this water of life, right? It's been created through this cosmic dance of fire and water. But what exactly is it? What makes it so special?
Well, water of life represents this vital essence, like the animating principle. It flows from the Great Mother and basically gives birth to the whole manifested universe. It's that life force that sustains and nourishes everything.
The Great Mother. And that's a concept I've always found so fascinating. Who is this Great Mother? And how does she relate to this water of life?
In lots of ancient traditions, the Great Mother is that primal source of creation. She embodies the feminine principle, the cosmic womb. Everything emerges from her.
So she's like the source of water of life itself, the wellspring, the place where all life flows from.
Exactly. Water of life is like an emanation of her creative power, that life-giving essence. It's what she pours into the universe.
Wow, that's a beautiful image. It's like we're getting a glimpse into the very heart of creation itself, like the moment the universe is infused with life.
It is, yeah. It reminds us that creation isn't just random, it's a deliberate act of love, a pouring forth of life from the divine.
This is making me think of all those different creation myths from different cultures. Do you see any parallels between the Great Mother and figures from other mythologies?
Oh, absolutely. Think of like the Egyptian goddess Nut. She represents the sky and gives birth to the sun god Ra every morning. Or, the Hindu goddess Aditi, that boundless cosmic mother. All the gods are born from her. Those are just a couple of examples. But the archetype of the Great Mother pops up everywhere, right? It reflects this universal understanding of a feminine creative force.
It's so cool how these ancient cultures, even though they're so different, they all came to this idea of a primordial mother as the source of life.
Yeah, it speaks to a really deep, intuitive grasp of the creative process. Like, we instinctively know life must come from somewhere, from a source that's both powerful and nurturing, right?
This is seriously making me look at the world differently. It's like I'm seeing these hidden connections, that flow of energy. It's binding everything together.
That's what's so enmeshing about these esoteric teachings. They push us to see beyond the surface, to recognize that underlying unity, the interconnectedness of everything.
I do have a question, though. We've talked a lot about fire and water as these cosmic principles, but how do they show up in our regular lives? I mean, we encounter fire and water all the time, literally, but is there a deeper meaning beyond that?
That's a great question. And yeah, these principles operate on different levels. Think about the fire within you, your passions, drive, your will to create. That's the fire principle at work, right there in your life.
And what about water, then?
Water in this context is like your emotions, intuition, your capacity for empathy and compassion. It's that receptive, flowing part of you.
So we kind of have both these principles inside us. It's that interplay of fire and water that shapes our experiences and drives our growth.
Exactly. And just like in the cosmic realm, it's all about finding balance between them. Too much fire without water, and you get burnout, recklessness. Too much water without fire, and you get stagnation, apathy.
That makes a lot of sense. Like we need both that heat of passion and the coolness of reason to navigate life properly. But I'm curious, how does that internal balance connect back to the water of life, and the Great Mother? Is there a link there?
That's a really sharp question. It leads us right to the core of what Blavatsky's teaching. You see, Blavatsky believed that we are all essentially sparks of the divine, little drops of that water of life flowing from the Great Mother.
So we're not just separate individuals, but like interconnected parts of a greater cosmic whole.
Exactly. We carry both the potential for creation and destruction within us, the potential for growth and transformation. And it's the choices we make, the way we balance that inner fire and water, that ultimately shapes our own individual journey and contributes to the evolution of the universe itself.
Wow, that's both empowering and kind of overwhelming. It's like we have this huge responsibility to use our creative power wisely.
It is a responsibility, yeah. But it's also a profound opportunity, By aligning ourselves with the water of life, with that divine essence from the Great Mother, we can tap into our true potential and help create a more harmonious, compassionate world.
That's beautiful. So what's the next step then? How do we actually access this water of life within us?
Now, that's a question Blavatsky really gets into in The Secret Doctrine. It's something we can definitely explore more in our next segment, because there are specific practices and principles that can help us cultivate this connection to the divine source, to harness that creative power within.
I can't wait to hear more. But before we move on, I just want to say how much I appreciate this conversation. It's really opened my eyes to a whole new way of seeing things, just understanding my place in it all.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, this is just the beginning of our exploration. There's so much more to discover as we keep diving into the Secret Doctrine.
Well, I'm definitely ready to keep diving. But for now, I think we need to give our listeners a moment to process all this wisdom, right? So until next time, keep those minds open and those hearts receptive to the flow of water of life. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been having a really insightful conversation about this Blavatsky quote, and all the layers of meaning, especially that idea of the water of life and the Great Mother. I'm excited to hear more about, how we can tap into that source.
That's really the core of spiritual practice, isn't it? It's not enough to just understand these concepts mentally, We want to actually experience them, to embody them in our lives.
Exactly. I think that's what draws so many people to these, like, esoteric teachings, right? They offer not just a way to see the world differently, but a way to be in the world differently.
Absolutely. And Blavatsky actually offers a bunch of practices and principles in the Secret Doctrine that can help us cultivate this connection to the water of life, to the Great Mother.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of these practices?
Well, one of the most fundamental ones is meditation. Through meditation, we quiet the mind, we still all those thoughts, and it creates a space for that interconnection to emerge.
That makes sense. It's like we're clearing a channel for the water of life to flow through.
Exactly. Meditation helps us become more receptive, to those subtle energies that are always there, but often get drowned out by the noise of everyday life.
Are there other practices Blavatsky talked about?
Yeah, another important one is cultivating compassion. Remember how we talked about water representing empathy and compassion? By developing those qualities in ourselves, we become more aligned with the Great Mother because she embodies like infinite love and compassion for everything.
So by practicing compassion, we're not just being nice, we're actually like aligning ourselves with a fundamental cosmic principle.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that interconnectedness, right? Understanding that we're all part of this web of life and then acting accordingly.
This is starting to feel very practical. It's not just these abstract ideas, but about making choices in our lives that reflect these principles.
You got it. It's about bringing those teachings down to earth, integrating them into our thoughts, words, and actions.
So if we really want to tap into that water of life, if we want to experience that connection to the Great Mother, it's not enough to just read about it or talk about it. We have to actively cultivate that connection through things like meditation and compassion.
That's the key takeaway. It's a journey, right? A journey of inner transformation, a process of aligning ourselves with that divine essence that flows through all of us.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation, honestly. I feel like I have a totally new perspective on this Blavatsky quote, on the nature of creation itself, and even my own place in the universe.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you. And remember, this is just the start, right? The journey continues. Keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep cultivating that connection to the water of life within.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity, and maybe inspired you to explore these ideas further. Until next time, keep those minds open and those hearts receptive to all the wonders of the universe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.